Yesterday I said something about the first part, perhaps being the formal transmission, and the second part being more practical. Well, actually now Dagpo Tashi Namgyal continues with the explanations on the specific preliminaries for the practice of Mahamudra. In the Moonbeams, we are on page 149, and so on. Now, since this is quite practical, I would love to start with the preliminaries now and see how far I can go with you. Actually, I'm teaching Mahamudra now for quite some years, 25 years of teaching Mahamudra. I come to the same conclusion as my teachers, that the preliminaries are the main practice. The so-called preliminaries have such a strong effect that when that effect manifests, we are automatically into Mahamudra. And I will try to make that clear as I go through. Yes, as I go through what is called specific preliminaries. Guiding you as students in the Mahamudra, I notice that students with, for example, a natural letting go of distractions have it very easy to enter meditation. That those with a strong devotion have it very easy to enter meditation. Those with a good confidence in their Buddha nature have it easy to enter meditation. And if you combine all these aspects of what is called the qualities of the preliminaries, developed by the preliminaries, actually, when they come together, Mahamudra is the result. It's just there. So, let me try to make that clear with almost every point that I will mention. I'm again presenting you a summary of Dagpo Tashi Namgyal's instructions, not my own instructions. In order to practice Mahamudra, we need to be instructed by a qualified spiritual mentor, a qualified Lama. Yes, very important. It's not done through books. Books are good, but then how to practice? If I choose myself how to practice, I will follow, yes, my intuitions, but they are not very mature yet. So basically I will follow my impulses of what seems best, and what seems best is usually what seems most agreeable. So I'm actually continuing in my habitual patterns. And I need some external reference to be guided in such a way as not to only follow those intuitions, but to try out something new. So this encouragement to try out something new, that's the task of the teacher. Now, qualified also means someone who knows what she is talking about or what he is talking about, with an actual experience of all the aspects that are being taught. Should be a personal, direct experience, stable, reliable. Much more could be said about this, but actually it will show by itself. If you have a qualified teacher, and there are many in the world, which you can rely on, fortunately, there are some, then because that person is qualified, there will be a qualified instruction. You will get a good instruction. You will try out that instruction, and because it comes from a qualified practitioner, it will usually work. You will have an experience based on that instruction. The trust grows. So if the student actually puts into practice the instructions of a qualified teacher, normally the result is that the trust grows, and with the time devotion grows. Easier to let go of all this self-directed spiritual enterprise, the wish to be in charge, the wish to have the authority. And a good spiritual lama, a spiritual teacher, will also take care that our self-reliance will not decrease, but actually increase. That we develop confidence in ourselves. That's also a sign of a qualified teacher, that the instructions generate more and more trust in our own mind, in our own capacities. Not the ego capacities, the basic capacities of our mind. So there's a lot more which I could say, but let's keep the one point: we need to be instructed by a qualified teacher. And for the practice to make any sense, we have to train in wholesome conduct. Shila, yeah? Wholesome conduct, unfortunately translated as discipline, but actually it's all about being as wholesome as possible in the acts of our body, not only avoiding harm, but also benefiting others, benefiting our surrounding and ourselves. So this benefiting of ourselves concerns the body, the speech, and the mind. And it always is from a perspective of we, all of us. Wholesome conduct is the necessary ground on which the practice can flourish. And that's where the teacher can work with us. We cannot work with someone who wants to practice Mahamudra, but otherwise does not take good care of himself, herself, or actually harms himself or herself, and harms others, and even intentionally harms others. So that's the basis, the good old basis for training, like for all Buddhist teachings, approaches. The good old Buddhist teaching is Shila, Samadhi, Prajna. Wholesome conduct as the basis. Samadhi, this means meditative stability, evolving thanks to that, and meditative stability giving rise to insight, to prajna, to wisdom. So, that's a preliminary of Mahamudra. Mahamudra relies on respect for others. And then, next step, also very common, listen closely to the to the teaching and study. So listen closely to what the teaching actually is. Now, if you take notes in a teaching, take the notes with the words of the teacher. This is also like listening closely. Don't put the teaching already as you write it down in your own words, because then the filter is even bigger. And afterwards, when you look at your notes, you think you have written down the teaching, but actually you wrote down what you liked and what you understood. What was your appreciation. So if you want to know the words of the teacher, write them down as they're being told. Then reflect on them. Then come to your own conclusions. This is the next step. Contemplation. Reflect repeatedly on the meaning. So I can't spare you that. If you want to be Mahamudra practitioners, please study teachings like the Ocean of True Meaning by the Ninth Karmapa. You do not necessarily have to study the Moonbeams. That's the most elaborate book. But at least such a meditation manual as Mahamudra, the ocean of true meaning or definite meaning. This is a must for everyone who wants to engage in the practice. So, do it. Just a little book. You have your whole life. So study it, contemplate it, and then put it into practice. Now the first thing when we put it into practice is a preliminary for Mahamudra as well. We turn away from our attachment to the alluring appearances of this life. In old language called renunciation. We're just not interested anymore. The alluring, the seducing appearances of this life is always where I can maybe find my next happiness. Yes, this is what I'm going for. Now, if I'm running after the possibility of my next happiness, very difficult to practice because I'm preoccupied with running after sense impressions and not looking through their nature. So, a preliminary from Mahamudra is a good dose of letting go of involvement of what has only a short-term benefit. Yes, it is very nice to listen to beautiful music. Yes, it can open the mind. But to spend my time to go after it, maybe is not the most important thing of life. We could actually use the time for practice. Yes, it is very nice to go out and sit in the sun. But if I change my meditation place every time the sun changes, then I'm actually running after sensory impressions. And I'm not looking through the illusory nature of visual impressions, physical impressions, all of that. I'm running after. I'm always a slave of sensory impressions. So if you want to practice Mahamudra, relax that. Yes, see through and see that this is of a temporary benefit, yes, but not a reliable source of happiness. So Mahamudra depends on going into what is more reliable, what will even help when we are sick, when we cannot change place anymore. That which will even help when we become old, or when we have an accident, or when a corona strikes. Yes, the lockdown, which will help us when we are alone, which will help us when we are in groups, not dependent on circumstances. We go for that. That's of lasting benefit. It will also help in next lives, whatever comes afterwards. So now a Mahamudra teacher would normally check the student and see, is there enough of this renunciation there? Is the student already fed up with appearances? Is the student actually able to relax into the just now? Or does the student always need something special? Some special practice, some special this and that, some special instruction, some special place, some special surrounding. So normally we wouldn't even start teaching Mahamudra if that preliminary is not yet there. But it can be developed. It was even developed in me. I still love to go cycling, I still love the sun and so on, but I know it's only of temporary benefit. So I try to see through and to relax whatever the conditions. So we turn away from what is not a true refuge, and the next point is we turn towards what is truly reliable? What is a true refuge? Now this will need some contemplation. Here, usually as a teacher, we would jump into telling the people what is the true refuge. But actually, as a Mahamudra preliminary, one has to find that out for oneself. What is the true refuge? There's lots of answers in the books, and I know you have the intellectual answers. But this is the question to solve at the beginning of every Mahamudra practice session. We need to know what's the refuge now. Agitated mind, running after my ideas? Or is it this other dimension? Is it, where can I find that? Where can I find the true refuge in my experience of now? And that will be the starting point of true meditation. That's what is called refuge. That's what we rely on. That's what we feel is most precious and most nourishing and most securing, giving the deepest happiness. That's where our spiritual path will go. That's what we can rely on also when we breathe our last breath. We breathe out for the last time. That will be the refuge. So this is another very important preliminary of Mahamudra. It does not make sense to practice Mahamudra if that's not clear. Forget it. Just follow the sense impressions. Just go for temporary happiness, but don't call it Mahamudra. Don't fool yourself. Mahamudra practice starts with a sense of, that's the true home, coming home, like settling into that dimension of non-doing, non-manipulation, just being. Okay, simplicity. And then comes the next important preliminary, not to do it for oneself only, to do it for all mind streams, all beings that live experiences like ourselves. So this is called bodhicitta. We arouse an awareness that we are going through experiences which are shared with so many others. Maybe all others, we don't know for sure, but actually all the ones I meet, they go through the same experiences. Of appreciating an open mind and of feeling stuck and stressed and suffering in a stressed mind, a narrow mind. So this is the decision inwardly at the beginning of every Mahamudra session and underlying all our practice. Yeah, I will practice that, what is truly reliable, for the benefit of all, and I will practice it in all my lifetimes. I don't know how many will come. I will always practice it. I don't know for how long it will be, how long this mind stream will manifest. But I will always do that, and I will always do it for everyone I'm connected to, everyone I meet, everyone that is. So that's bodhicitta. It's the you can say beginning you would say it's a resolve. Later on it's simply an insight that anyhow we are connected. And if my heart is to be truly open, it cannot fully open if I have to close it to the suffering of some others. when the awareness of stress and suffering around me enters my mind, I don't want to have to close it in order to be happy. I want it to be open. So it's an insight. Yes, I can only be truly happy in that connectedness, in that resonance with everybody, and I say yes to that resonance forever. No limitation in time and numbers. That's bodhicitta. To say yes to that natural resonance, which is the key to a happiness that does not depend on separation. All other forms of happiness exclude the awareness of what's going on in the world, of what's going on with the neighbors, what's going on with others. We open to that and we say, yes, for all of us, I will practice. So that's a preliminary of Mahamudra. Now, again, I should say, as a Mahamudra teacher, one shouldn't teach Mahamudra to people who don't have that aspiration. Now, fortunately, I know you have that aspiration, although you struggle with how to put it into practice. You have the aspiration. It feels good when you hear that. You feel like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes absolute sense. But my God, I'm so overwhelmed with what's going on in the world. How can I possibly open my heart to all of that? I will be completely overwhelmed. But, okay, slowly. If you open to everything, you also must make space to everything and not cling to everything. So, the less we cling, the more we can open. Bodhicitta will become stronger, the less we are important. When I'm so important, then the me clings to everything. Bodhicitta, that openness, that resonance for all sentient beings, is only possible without self-importance. The aspiration to enter that is sufficient to start the Mahamudra path. That's the good news. Yes? The aspiration is followed by the application, which then leads into the actual experience. So we need that. We need that aspiration. Forget Mahamudra if that's not your aspiration. Leave the teaching. Yes, actually, because it will not make sense. All Mahamudra masters, women and men, they are all great bodhisattvas. One cannot understand their teaching without entering that resonance, that wish, that openness to resonate with all phenomena, not only with living beings, with everything. So this deep yes to life and to our connectedness is the basic requisite for Mahamudra practice. And then practice the Dharma properly as much as we can is the next preliminary. So properly means as it has been taught. Properly, not misunderstanding. Sometimes we understand too much effort, too little effort, and we have our own interpretations. So verify also with your teacher what it means to practice properly now. And as much as we can means all the time. Yes? So, we practice informal meditation and we practice in informal meditation, which is called activity. And we allow for the Dharma to enter all aspects of life. There's nothing excluded. I should practice now as I'm teaching, so I do. As I brush my teeth, I do. As I ride my bicycle, yes. Sometimes I forget. I get caught by sense appearances. Then I remember. Okay? So of course we won't be doing it 100%, but the permission is there that the awareness enters all aspects of our life, all areas, no exception. And last preliminary, meditate again and again on the true nature of all phenomena. So whatever we do, we direct our awareness to how it actually is to experience this now. How is it to live this experience now? And this is called a preliminary because it's still kind of a question. It's a technique. It's a tool to ask oneself the question, how is it to be listening now? How is it to be understanding only half of it? How is it to have a moment of deep understanding? How is it to relax completely? Always how? How is it? This is leading into the intuitive feeling for what is the quality, the nature of the experience of now. So that's called a preliminary. Actually, you can translate it also as truly being interested in knowing the nature of life, the nature of mind, the nature of phenomena. It all means the same thing. One needs to be interested. Without that interest, Mahamudra will not work. Because mind is lazy. Mind does not want to know. Mind wants to be happy. Someone who just wants to be happy is not interested in knowing the nature of phenomena. One needs to have the understanding that true happiness comes from that understanding. Then maybe one gets interested. So much for the general preliminaries. Tomorrow we will do more specific preliminaries. But now I want to meditate with you. Today we skip questions. Maybe afterwards. But now I wish to meditate with you and to apply what we have heard. Some of you might feel more at ease if you switch off the video so that no one can see you while you're meditating. Others, they are okay with sharing their presence with others as they are meditating, to even have the feeling of togetherness in that situation. You should check with yourself, because most important is to be able to enter that naturalness. The advantage of meditating now is that I have already talked you through the preliminaries, the general preliminaries. So somehow they have been working in our mind. And we can relax into the effect of that. Let simple awareness arise by itself. Trust that as we open up, that will be the case. can be sure that your mind knows how to relax. If you find yourself waiting for something special, then please let that open up as well. Allow yourselves to enjoy the simplicity of now. We can feel that joy without clinging to it. Allow for movement in mind and movement in body. When we say sitting still like a mountain, this does not mean that we become tense. Don't move much, but allow for the inner circulation of the energies, the little oscillations, and whatever activity of mind manifests. That mental activity is by nature self-liberating. Dissolves by itself into the next experience. Still relaxed? Or do you notice some tension? If there is tension, see what could let it flow a little bit more easily. It's all about allowing the natural flow, the natural presence. Some of you might be sitting alone in a room somewhere, watching and meditating together. Now, if you feel that this creates an excess of self-centeredness, just use for a moment the thought to meditate with everyone and for everyone. Together with all Buddhas, together with all beings. Somehow the feeling of separation becomes a little less then, or completely drops away. And when this feeling of separation is less, and we meditate in this sense of connectedness, natural meditation becomes even easier. Oh, we are reaching closer to the end of our afternoon session. It is not the end of our practice. Now, if we were together here in Lenzkirch for the usual 8-day course, we'd have a little break and then you would be able to meditate with Lama Heiko. Or you would go home and continue meditating. see what you can do in your life this afternoon, this evening, tonight. What kind of awareness you would like to maintain. Have a look ahead now. I invite you to contemplate that for a moment. What's most likely to be happening tonight? What kind of awareness practice would I like to maintain in those various situations? Visualize yourself maintaining that awareness in those situations. Being open-hearted maybe, relaxed, spacious, maybe a sense of connectedness. You choose. Don't choose more than one or two qualities. To finish one's meditation with a little contemplation on how to continue into activity actually makes it much easier than to actually practice awareness, to maintain awareness in activity. So my suggestion is that at the end of your meditation sessions, you think ahead of what's coming and how you would like to practice then. Of course, it never comes as we think, but it comes maybe a little bit similar. There's not so many big surprises all the time. So we know our normal patterns, our normal days, and what could be the today's challenge, and we prepare for that. And we can also prepare for different options. How I will make my dinner, how I might talk, how I might listen, how I might go out in nature, how I might meditate, and so on. That is bringing the meditation with us, like continuing it. We have a quality now, there's a quality, and we invite that over. We invite that to kind of filter into the activity that will start just now. Okay, I wish you good practice. Let's dedicate together, and I will afterwards see with the translators. I feel okay to add a question and answer session if some people want to stay for questions and answers, but let's first dedicate. Sunam liyi tamje zingpani tablene pedranam pamjene Kagyana jimbalam tumpayi Sibe sole jovan jawai shun jamben pavun jita kampana Kundu Zambodayam Deshinte Deda Kunjin Jesu Dalonjin Ewan Deda Tamjeram Tumo Sangye Kusum Nembenjin Lamdang Jeni Mindru Dembejin Lamdang Gandum Mijen Benjen Lanji Jindan Owa Menla